Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. 3 Inuit women have filed a class action lawsuit against the Northwest Company, alleging they misappropriated funds through the federal Nutrition North subsidy. APTN's Sierra Bettens has that story.
The former commissioner of Nunavut, a film producer, and an artist are 3 Inuit women launching a legal challenge against the Northwest Company. A statement of claim filed to the Manitoba Court of King's Bench on February 5th alleges the Northwest Company misused the Nutrition North Canada subsidy and, quote, unlawfully retained millions of dollars of funding received through the program. Lawyer Tim Dixon represents the plaintiffs.
These courageous individuals are very active in their communities and have been very concerned with food insecurity in the North. They all experience it themselves. They see their community members experiencing it.
Nutrition North Canada was launched in 2011 to make healthy foods more affordable for Northerners. The subsidy is given to Northern retailers, who are supposed to pass it on to the consumer through reduced prices.
What that means is lower the ultimate price by 100% of the amount of the subsidy.
But the suit alleges that the Northwest Company, quote, retained significant portions of the subsidy as profit to the detriment of class members, unquote. Dixon says Northern residents have expressed concerns about the subsidy for years.
But no one's really been able to know until there was an econometric study published in 2023 that looked at the increase in the subsidy and how much of that was being passed through to consumers by lowering prices, and it found that not all of it was.
And while the exact amount is unconfirmed, the suit alleges the NWC, quote, may have unlawfully retained approximately $21.6 million and $30.8 million annually in funding intended to benefit the class members, unquote. The lawsuit claims Northwest received more than $163 million from the subsidy between 2018 and 2021. The suit seeks an order demanding the Northwest Company return the allegedly misappropriated funds to Northern residents.
We are hoping that it is part of the conversation that has been going on about food insecurity in the North, about the federal government's role in helping to mitigate these very high prices for nutritious foods in the North, and ultimately about improving the Nutrition North program.
In October 2024, then Federal Minister of Northern Affairs, Dan Vandel, announced an external review of Nutrition North Canada that would be launched in 2025. APTN has reached out to Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada requesting an update. A statement sent to APTN from Brigitte Bourgoin, the Northwest Company's Director of Communications and Public Relations, says, quote, the Northwest Company cannot respond directly to specific allegations out of respect for the legal process. However, we can state with full confidence that the Northwest Company meets all Nutrition North Canada program requirements. It adds that, quote, while the NNC program partially offsets the costs of bringing food to the North on its own, it is not enough. Cost drivers, such as lack of infrastructure, the high cost of materials, operations, and inflation all have an impact on food prices, unquote. A statement of defense has not been filed, and none of the allegations have been proven in court. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Edmonton Police Service Chief Dale McPhee has decided not to move to a disciplinary hearing for an officer who fractured the skull of Everett Rain back in 2019. APTN's Chris Stewart has those details.
Everett Rain was arrested for public intoxication and breaching release conditions in November of 2019. He was taken to Edmonton Police Headquarters. Rain says that while he was there and handcuffed, Constable Zacharick used an armbar takedown on him. Rain landed on his head and spent the next 4 days in hospital with a fractured skull. The police claim Rain was non-compliant and resisting. The Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, known as ACERT, investigates serious incidents involving police. They charged Zacharek with assault causing bodily harm in 2022, almost 3 years after the incident. However, the Crown stayed the charge. A use of force expert told them Zacharek did not use excessive force. Rain filed a number of complaints against the EPS, 10 complaints in total. Police Chief Dale McPhee responded with a letter dated February 6th to Rain. He agreed that Officer Zacharek's actions did not appear proportionate to Rain's behavior in his first complaint. The chief dismissed Rain's other 9 complaints, including that the officer was acting aggressively before the incident. In the letter to Rain, the chief said there would be no disciplinary action against Zacharek. Erica Norheim is Everett Rain's lawyer.
I can tell you what the chief has said in his letter, which is that the Constable Zacharek's actions in throwing Mr. Rain to the ground were not proportional to any risk presented to Constable Zacharek or anyone else. It was not proportional or necessary. And so for that reason, the chief found that it was likely that he had engaged in a unnecessary or unlawful use of force.
She says there is security footage, but a court order is keeping it from being public. She says she does not understand why there is no disciplinary action against or a criminal trial for the officer.
I don't know how the chief can say that a use of force that results in a skull fracture that the chief acknowledges was not proportional or necessary in the circumstances can be a matter that is not serious.
However, McPhee's letter says Zacharek will receive additional training.
So then he goes down to review whether or not there was any deficiency in Constable Zacharek's training, and he concludes that there was no issue with his training. But he doesn't even give a warning to Constable Zacharek. Instead, what he says is that he'll get more training, which seems counterintuitive. If there was no issue with his training, then why would the solution to this issue be to direct further training?
The Edmonton Police Service told APTN that the appeal period is still open for Rain and cannot comment. Norheim says Rain is still feeling the effects of the beating he got from Zacharek. So, in 2022, Rain filed a $150,000 general damages civil suit against Zacharek, Chief McPhee, and the other officers on the scene of the incident. Rain is alleging loss of income and enjoyment of life, as well as pain and suffering. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
For the Inuit, it's a slur word, but for some reason it keeps popping up in songs by some massively popular artists. That story and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. It's a slur for Inuit people in northern Canada, Alaska, and Greenland, and one that is largely considered offensive in northern parts of the world. That word, which we're saying once for context, is Eskimo and is commonly thought to mean eater of raw meat. Well, as Sarah Connors tells us, the word has been used a few times recently in popular music, and that isn't sitting well with an Inuk who says words matter.
Have you heard this new song by soca artist Trinidad Killa? It's a big hit with soca fans and has over 160,000 streams on Spotify. But the name of the song, said here by featured artist Nicki Minaj, Eskimo Season, is a racial slur for Inuit people. Grammy Award-winning rapper Kendrick Lamar also used the word in his most recent album, GNX.
I found it really painful.
Thuparna Kopik is an Inuk originally from Greenland, now living in Alberta. She's disappointed the slur is finding its way into popular music.
And also, it really upset me because I have 3 daughters and I really don't want them growing up and hearing the artists that they like saying this derogatory term against us, against the people that they represent.
You know, I think it is just a place of ignorance using that word as a way to represent isolation.
This professor of musicology says those living outside the North often have little understanding about the Inuit.
If they want to make something sound like it's from the north or put the idea that it's cold, that it's remote, then they use Inuit in some way or another. And because of that relationship to isolation and remoteness, then Inuit feel less like a real people.
Recently, Kendrick Lamar came out with an album, and in one of the songs, he used a word that is a slur to my people.
Kopek made a TikTok video last fall explaining the harm behind Lamar's use of the word in his song. She hopes the video, which she says received 1.2 million views, can help educate others about the word and its impact.
I'm not here to cancel any artists. I think it's more to educate them. I want to just educate them and tell them nicely, please respect that we don't want to be called that term or word.
I reached out to Nicki Minaj and Kendrick Lamar's teams, but did not hear back. However, I did manage to speak with Trinidad Killa's manager. He told me Trinidad Killa did not know the word was a slur and in no way meant to cause offense to anyone. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Also, for some context, Kopek's video has more views than Trinidad Killa's. I just looked. Indigenous students that do not have the prerequisites to get into university are being offered another path to higher education. Concordia University in Montreal is offering an Indigenous bridging program. Following completion of it, students can then apply to certain undergraduate programs at Concordia. Included are engineering, science, psychology, journalism, and commerce. Concordia is offering virtual information sessions for the program online. As well, it offers financial support, including bursaries. Out-of-province students can access the Canada Scholar Awards, and both First Nations and Inuit students from communities in Quebec are eligible for tuition waivers. Students are supported before and after completion of the program.
We do have a coordinator that works with the student to identify where their needs are and what program they want to offer. And through that specialized one-on-one approach, we can really work with the students to transition into that specific program, such as journalism or engineering, the following year. And then after, once they get into the program, then we have the Otsahakta Student Center, which is an Indigenous Student Support Center for our students to provide that academic and cultural support that they will continue to have for the next 3 to 4 years.
Some of Manitoba's best young scientists will be in Winnipeg next week to show off their outstanding projects and inquisitive minds at the annual Frontier School Division Science Fair. Grades 4 to 12 students from 17 schools across northern and rural Manitoba will exhibit 64 projects focused on water, earth, and other sciences that impact their communities. With 110 students competing, it will be the largest Frontier School Division Science Fair since it began 11 years ago. 3 top winning students will earn the honor of attending the Canada-wide Science Fair in New Brunswick this spring. The division's Chief Superintendent, Tyson McGilvery, says the science fair is open to the public to come and enjoy.
Yeah, we've had some really great success in regards to our award winners. One of our team awards last year went to 2 female students from Falcon Beach, and they went on to the Canada-Wides and they received a silver medal. Not only is this a science fair, this is an opportunity for these students to engage in other activities while in the South, and they'll have opportunities to engage at the St. Boniface Youth Lab. They'll have an opportunity to attend some programming at the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada. They'll have opportunities to go to Fort White Alive, and as well as the Assiniboine Zoo for some self-directed programming there as well.
Fun week for those youth. You can join in on the fun and learn something too on February 27th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Canada Inn's Polo Park. And Algonquin youth is off to the Oscars. We'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Richard Friesen shared this photo taken by his grandson, Draven Meisner, from Moosehorn, Manitoba. Draven had originally sent it to Grandma Charlotte, and now we all get to enjoy Draven's photo. Thanks for that. Keep those photos coming. You can send them to share@aptn.ca, and your photo might be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, -4 in Fredericton, cloudy and -3 in Halifax. Snow and 12 below in Kuujjuaq, sunny and -7 in Cartwright. -1 with snow in Montreal, 7 below and snow in Chibougamau. -4 with snow in Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay. -1 with flurries in Thunder Bay, 4 below and snow in Sioux Lookout. -13 with snow in God's Lake, cloudy and 10 below in the Paw. 0 and cloudy in Winnipeg, -4 in Dauphin. -2 in Regina, 3 below in Saskatoon. -1 with snow in Meadow Lake, -5 with flurries in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, -7 with snow in High Level and Fort Chipewyan. 4 above in Edmonton, +10 in Lethbridge. 11 above in Vancouver and Victoria. +7 in Prince George, 6 in Smithers. -17 and snow in Old Crow, 0 for Whitehorse. -16 with snow in Yellowknife, cloudy and 15 below in Norman Wells. 28 below in Sax Harbor, -27 in Paulatuck. -27 for Chesterfield and Whale Cove, 26 below in Baker Lake. -24 in Resolute, 25 below in Arctic Bay. For more than 50 years, the people of Grassy Narrows have lived with the serious health effects of mercury contamination. Now, after decades of broken government promises, a new environmental threat is facing the community. Tomorrow night on an all-new episode of APTN Investigates, journalist Brittany Guillot takes a look back at the community's fight for justice. With more on the story, Brittany joins us now from Winnipeg. Brittany, thanks for being with us. The people of Grassy Narrows have lived with the effects of mercury poisoning for decades now. Can you tell us about the impact it's had on the community?
Yeah, the impact in the community is widespread, and it's something that the people of Grassy Narrows have been saying for decades. The majority of community members live with the effects of mercury poisoning, and those symptoms include loss of muscle coordination, tremors, loss of vision, and impairment of speech and hearing. So many people are living with multiple and severe symptoms. The people of Grassy say they are often asked why they still eat the fish if it's getting them sick, and the consensus is that this is a part of their traditional Anishinaabe way of life that they are not willing to give up. And rather than abandon a part of their culture, they say they want the waterways to be remediated, as the government has promised for years. And despite environmental destruction and the impact it's had on them physiologically, they are still a united community.
Now, Dr. Donna Mergler has done a number of studies in Grassy Narrows. What has her work demonstrated?
Mm-hmm. 3 of her most notable studies in Grassy have broadened the understanding of mercury poisoning and the conditions the community members are living in. She co-authored a study that estimated 90% of the community has symptoms of mercury poisoning. In 2020, she analyzed mercury levels in hair samples of individuals who died before 60 years. The research found a direct association between long-term mercury exposure and premature death. So this is below the average for Indigenous people across the country and far below the national average that sits at 81 years.
Okay. Now, part of your story looks at the recent decision, and that's to store nuclear waste upriver from Grassy Narrows. What's been the response from the community to that?
The community members and the leadership of Grassy are opposed to it. They say their concerns surround the potential for accidents when the nuclear waste is being transported on highways, as well as the potential for leaks once the waste is stored underground. They say there is not enough research to definitively conclude the project is safe, and that this is just another example of environmental racism that they've had to endure.
Looking forward to it, Brittany. Thanks for speaking with us about it.
Thanks for having me.
And you can catch APTN Investigates Something in the Water right here tomorrow night. And Algonquin youth is counting down the days before she heads to Los Angeles. The young entrepreneur from Kitigan-Zibi will soon be rubbing elbows with the rich and famous and gifting them with some of her own creations. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
14-year-old Maya Boudry will soon be showcasing her famous Kukum scrunchies at the Diamond Lounge in Hollywood.
Just like, it feels like so unreal because like I'm just like, you know, like living like my dreams.
Maya is a natural-born entrepreneur. She founded Kukum Scrunchies when she was just 9. She's grown her business from there to include bags, lanyards, clothing, and ribbon skirts. So when the Oscars emailed and requested her presence in the Diamond Lounge, she jumped on it with a few new limited edition scrunchies.
There's 3 of them. And I think I love these colors because they're so like pastel, and I think this will just like fit the big like, you know, opening for the Oscars.
Maya's mom, Marcy, is the president of Kukum Scrunchies. She says being the only First Nations youth to be asked to participate in such a prestigious event is an incredible opportunity. Oscar nominees will see Maya's work when they gather in the Diamond Lounge.
So we're going to bring about 100 scrunchies to 150 scrunchies, depending on our tag situation. And then we're going to also, for the non-women Oscar nominees, we're going to bring men's ties, shoelaces, bags, some lanyards, like just kind of a little bit of everything that we have. But the majority will be scrunchies. And so they're going to be all on a table. And so from my understanding, an Oscar nominee will walk into the room. You will know who they are. They'll come to your table. They pick and choose whatever they want. They talk. You have a picture. And that's where the connections and the relationships begin.
According to Marcy, it's meant 3 months of intense planning for their table presentation.
So we were thinking of, very meaningful ways of like even going back to our roots of like, what are we going to bring and how is this presentation going to look? And, if I look back in terms of how Maya even just sold Kukum Scrunchies at the beginning, it was just in a little birch bark basket. And so bringing birch bark with us to the Oscars is going to be a really important element because it comes from the Algonquin Nation. And we have so many baskets here that were passed down through my family's generation that we want to then bring to the Oscars and share with them.
Maya is hoping to connect with and gift one of her favorites.
Her name is like Lily Gladstone. I literally watch every of her TV shows, movies, wherever she's in, I'm literally watching it. It's like her acting is just so good, and the fact that she won an award as an Indigenous woman means a lot, and I know that she inspires everyone because she inspires me.
Anyone wanting to follow Kukum Scrunchies' experience in Los Angeles can follow them on Instagram and Facebook next Friday and Saturday. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Gatineau, Quebec.
Super wicked, Maya. Congrats. That's all the time we have for tonight. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch. Kim Sullivan is up next with your French language newscast. Have a great night.